All right, gear prep is running extremely late, but we have both the C70s and we just got in the technical time sinks. So doing a test, threw it into Final Cut and it automatically synced up. So I would never normally want to get a new device before a shoot day and test it. So this is coming down to the wire, but it looks like it's working, and I just transferred the menu settings from my C70 to the rental. C70 has time code. That makes it really nice. And I'm gonna get about 2.5 hours of sleep before we get up for about a 12-hour day. 10 minutes before sound check, we got the big bag. It's not full as normal. We got the C70, my stuff, Red Bull, and one assistant.
Half an assistant.
I got this job through my network. In March 2020, I covered a conference as a DP, and they gave national standard rates. So they said it was $900 a day, which is great because I was working at $400 a day. So it opened me up to what the rates were and what the requirements of gear and practices were. So I didn't do another job for them for 2 years for obvious reasons, but I reached back out a couple months ago and the guy said, we don't need any help right now, but I'll keep you in mind. And then cut to a couple weeks ago, his colleague said, hey, David, I'd like for you to shoot our conference. You come well recommended from my friend, and let's get this going. So that's how I got this one. Sometimes it really, really helps to reach back out to people who are already in your network. About 30 minutes before we begin, but this is a beautiful sight. So we actually have time code running, top right, and it matches up with this time code. Technical sync. This one's gonna get taped on. There's not enough cold shoes. And then we have a XLR feed going into mini XLR all the way to the sound guy. And then we're using the first channel for the main recording, and then the second one is at a lower level. It's extremely low right now, but once they start speaking, they'll both be at acceptable ranges.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Working. It works.
And we gotta clean up all this. That light is going outside for our testimonials, but this is basically our setup for the entire conference day. And everything's matched up, paired up, time code going in. Looks good, both on Sigma lenses.
The visualization tool is exactly what you think. You can point, click, move things around, and you can hit a button and it gives you a nice big Excel file. That's great, right? Not just crime, it's about community wellness and public safety more generally. And also about police-citizen interactions. We need to know a lot about what is going on and often tell the stories about a lot of those interactions are actually very positive.
Testing out our testimonial lighting area. So ideally we will have people come out through the conference room there, grab them on their way here, ask them to do a quick interview, and then have a stick mic, camera on a gimbal, and have them on their way within a minute or two. And this is what the angle will look like. So these lights always look good out of focus with some shallow depth of field, and then we have a lot of depth going down there. So I'm happy with this setup. Also extremely valuable. This is why I love the 200X. It's bicolor. So you can't really see here, but these house lights are extremely warm, and I was able to warm up the light as well to match. That way everything looks seamless and you don't have a blue daylight balance light on their face. I hate that look. This is much more professional in my opinion, and this is the exact type of case that I bought a bicolor light for. here is our testimonial rig, the Sony a7R III on a Ronin SC, very lightweight, and we're using the Rode Go handheld mic attachment. If this conference had a little bit more time beforehand, we would have gotten the boxes on the stick just to make it look more professional, but I'm very happy with the lighting, very happy with the final image that came out, and I'll be ordering actually 2 more of these for a different conference coming up in 2 weeks. But the actual camera, we're running Cinco. I guess it's a 2-in-1 transmitter receiver, and then the 24-70 Mark I version. I know they just came out with a lighter Mark II, but this setup was great and it was perfect for what we needed. If I was strictly a conference trade show videographer, this setup is extremely overkill. I would actually be running C100 Mark IIs, and the gear overhead would be so low that your profit margins would be crazy. But since I do other things, I'm using it for this application, but it's not the primary use. It does come extremely handy because it has all of the ports and audio and time code and features that you'd want. But you can get a lot of that with older cameras, so it just depends the gear you have for the jobs that you do, which is why it's my opinion to, if you niche down into a specific type of work that you do, then you can buy gear specific for that rather than I bought this for this job and then I bought this for that job. That will be inevitable, but if you can focus in a little bit, then you can not spend so much money that you really don't need to. A lot of people have been asking, what do I charge? What should they charge? And while that's a very market and location dependent question, I can give the experience to how I got to my number. So a couple of years after college, I reached out to an old friend. He said, why don't you come by my place of work? We frequently need freelance videographers. And that started a 5-year relationship as a freelancer for this company where I learned so much. I was always using their gear, so I didn't have to put up those initial costs. But that was a $250 day rate, which I thought was amazing. And then I started getting more experience and my time was more valuable, and I bumped it up to $400. They obliged, and it's at $500 right now, but that's just because they're a legacy client and I only use their gear. Now for my own productions, I have a lot more gear, I have a lot more experience, so it's $1,200 a day, and that is for camera, lighting, and sound, and you have me for 10 hours, and so far it's working. It's a much higher level of production. Okay, shoot is wrapped. Just before we're leaving, we're transferring all the files. So that is our A cam just transferred, that is our B cam, this is our roaming gimbal cam. This is for the client, and then making a separate backup for myself. And that's the end of the work trip. Back her up. Backed up, and tomorrow is Gainesville, 3 days.